Hello guys, this is just going to be a quick tutorial on rigging. I decided to make this real time to make this as slow and accessible as possible, even to beginners. So let's dive right in. The first thing you want to do is you're going to want to have two menus open, which you can do just by dragging this little three-pronged icon. I like to have both the front and the side when I'm looking at my rig. You're going to want to be in object mode, which is here. And then you're going to want to make sure your cursor, this little circular icon, is in the middle, which you're going to press Shift S and then cursor to center. This is important because all of the bones will spawn here when you add them, and it'll make it easier to align it to the center of the model. Alright, you're going to want to press Shift A, armature, and single bone. You want to make it a little bit bigger with S, and just drag out. And you're going to want to drag it up, and you won't be able to see it, so you're going to want to go into this little armature menu with the little human icon, and you're going to want to click X-ray. I made it a little bit big, so I'm going to scale it down with S, and then you're going to want to basically put the bottom of the bone in an area where maybe like the pelvic area would be, like the bottom of the spine on the human would be. I'm going to keep this relatively simple. I'm going to tab into edit mode so I can start to add more bones. And I'm going to add, I think, 3 spinal bones. You can add more, but essentially just think of these as different vertebrae on the spine that can bend when you animate them later. And so I think 3 is pretty adequate for most of the models that I use. So you're going to want to press E to extrude. Let me go back again so you can see that. I press E, and then I press Z to extrude on the Z axis. And I'm going to then pull it back. You can see it over here. I'm doing it over here so I can see it a little bit better. I'm going to do it again with E and Z. And I'm going to kind of shape it in a little bit of a curve, a similar way a normal human spine would look. And I'm going to end the third spine at about the neck here. Okay, I'm going to start right now naming the bones because I always forget and it's never fun to have to do them all. So this is going to be the root bone. This will be spine 1, and you can get to this menu just by pressing N, and it's under item, armature, and then there's the bone. And this one will be spine 2. Alright, so this is going to be the neck. So we're going to extrude again on Z. Just about the size of that, and we're going to want to go to, that looks probably about good. I'm going to lower this a little bit, look from the front, and that'll do. So we're going to want to extrude one more bone for the head, straight up, all the way to the top, and then you're going to want to drag it out. You can drag it with G. You're going to want to drag it to kind of where the forehead is. You don't have to be too precise. I got really precise when I started with this, and it just kind of ended up adding on time. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to name those because I almost forgot again. Neck and head. All right. So the next thing you want to do is, let's start with the legs. I'm going to take this bone, I'm going to press Shift D, and I'm going to click and drag this over here. Or rather, you just press Shift D and then you move it and then you click. And then that will put that there. And this is going to be the femur bone. I believe that's what it's called. So we're going to want to rotate this 90 degrees. So we're going to R, X, actually I think it's 180. Yeah, there we go. Rotate it on X, 180, RX, and then type in 180. And then we're going to want to move it to where the hip bone would be in the human body, which would be probably around there. Then we're going to want to take this little end of the bone and we're going to drag it down to about where the top of her knee is. I'm actually going to drag this forward a little bit just to make it straight. And it's looking pretty good. And then you're going to do that again. You're going to press E and Z all the way down to about the ankle. You're going to want to have a little bit of bend here. You don't want this to be totally straight. If you're having a problem seeing where this should go, it should go in between a triple edge loop, because most of the bends on a low poly model need at least 3 edge loops to bend normally, and so I like to make sure that it's like right there. All right, to get back into this, I got to this menu by pressing tab to get to object mode, right clicking on the model and then pressing tab to go to edit, and just press tab again and tab on this to get into this edit mode. All right, and so the next thing you're going to want to do is you want to extrude again on Z. You're going to want to push it out to about here. You're going to want to extrude this time on Y. This is to give the little bit of the flop at the end of the boot. Makes it look a lot better. We're going to ignore the IK for the foot just for the moment because that's kind of complex. And then we're going to start on the arm. So the best way I found to do this is to take this bone, spine 2. Actually, let's go ahead and name everything I forgot. This is going to be a little bit different. We're going to name it thigh.L. We want to keep a consistent naming convention, the .L. We're going to do shin.L for left, or the left side of the body. We're going to do foot.L and toe.L. Okay, so the next thing is we're going to want to take this bone by right-clicking it. We're going to Shift D, and we're going to move it over here. And as you can see, it has a relationship to this bone. It's now parented to this bone, and I'll show you what that means really quickly. If I take this bone, everything that is connected to this bone is the child of this. Think of this as like, this is the mother, and these are all the children, and the children are going to follow the mother. And because we duplicated this from here, this is going to have a child relationship to this bone. It didn't happen with this one because we pulled it from the root, but because we pulled this from this, it's going to have the same relationship as this bone. So anyway, to fix that, we're going to go back into edit mode. We're going to click this bone and press Alt-P, and we're going to clear the parent. Now, as you can see, it has no relationship, it's not affected, and we're all good to go. So you're going to go back into edit mode, because whenever you want to edit or add or modify a bone position, you should always do it in edit mode when you're creating a rig. Pose mode is for only posing in animation in temporary positions. I'm just going to close that with N. And then we're going to take this bone, we're going to rotate it on X and, rotate it on Y. Yeah, Y, 90 degrees. And then we're going to, I'm going to go into top view by pressing 7. And I'm going to kind of try and figure out where the shoulder is and where the clavicle is. Okay, and so now that we've got that relatively in position, we're going to take E, we're going to extrude on X, and we're going to drag it down to where her elbow would be, the inner elbow. And I'm going to again check my thing. Looks like I'm actually going to do some of this to really clarify where that is. Okay, there's the center. So we're going to do that. We're going to extrude on X again, and we're going to drag it down to relatively where the wrist is. We're going to do it one more time on X, and we're going to drag it down to just before the fingers. And this will be this is going to be upper arm dot L, lower arm dot L, and hand dot L. I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I find that this bone isn't super necessary. I kind of like the flexibility that comes with just having this bone kind of connected. We'll see if I decide to change that later. And at this point, I'm going to go back into that parenting relationship I was talking about earlier. So you're actually going to want the thigh to be parented to the root bone so it moves with the rest of the body. So what we're going to do is in edit mode, we're going to select the thigh and then the root bone, because you want to select the child first and then the parent. And then you press Control P and keep offset. And the difference between connected and keep offset is keep offset seems to just give it a parent-child relationship, but connected will actually make the two bones connected, like you see in the spine up here, which is useful for some things, but not this. Okay, now we're going to take this bone and we're going to connect it to spine 2. Upper arm to spine 2. We're going to do Control P and keep offset. And we're connecting this bone to spine 2 and not the neck, because if we think about how we want our skeleton to move, we want the arm to move with the torso, and it wouldn't make any sense if it moved with the neck. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. At this point, we've actually got half of a really basic rig already functioning. And I think now let's make it a little bit more complex. We're going to go back into edit mode here. So we're going to give her some finger bones. I'm actually going to go into, because I want to be able to see her stuff a little better. That didn't work. Go into solid. That should help me see her a little better. Yeah, there we go. If you go into solid instead of, I had mine in material in the render palette, it just helps you, if you go into solid under the body, you can see the edge loops a little bit better. All right, so here's what I am going to do. I'm going to go back into edit mode, and I'm going to take this hand bone, and I'm going to Shift D, and I'm going to rotate on X, and I'm going to scale it, and I'm going to put it basically where the thumb is. This bone is actually getting in my way, so I'm just going to highlight it and press H. It's still there. We'll bring it back. It's just hidden, but it was getting in the way. So, okay, now that we have this bone relatively in place, we're going to Shift D, and we're going to, I'm going to do this from the top, I think. We're going to rotate it so that it looks just about right. And look at it from the side. I'm going to rotate it again. You just kind of want it to fit right in, right at the base of the bend of the finger, right at the tip. And once you look at it and you feel like, wow, it's really in there, you can move on to the next one. So you're going to Shift D, and you're going to hold this out a little bit, bring this forward just a little bit, and it looks like it's pretty in there. You're going to do it again, make it smaller, do it again, make this a bit smaller with the scale. Just finagle it till it looks like it's in there. It's not super important to be super precise. Like, again, I used to think so, but you can always fix things with your weight painting later, which I'm going to show you. Okay, so these all have a weird parenting relationship. They're all parented to this bone, right? Like this part, and that's not good. So we're going to select all of the joints. We're going to press Alt-P, and we're going to clear the parent. And again, with them selected, we're going to press Shift and press the hand bone, Control-P, and keep offset. Now, when we go into pose mode, you can see everything moves together. It's really good. It's a really good habit to test this as you go along, so you don't have to fix it later. All right, I'm going to go back in edit mode and name these. Actually, wait, no. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select them all. I'm going to press T to open up this menu again. And then I'm going to press W, subdivide. This is only in edit mode. And then I'm going to do 2 cuts. And now you see we've got nice joints for each finger. Except the thumb, I think we have too many, so I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm just going to move that to that. I'm pretty sure, like, when I've animated hands in the past, 2 for the thumb seems to work best. Okay. Okay, now here's the part where naming is really annoying, but helps out. So I'm going to name this thumb2.l. Actually, let's do thumb1.l. thumb2.l. I'm going to name this first for the first finger, first1.l. first2.l. There's probably a better naming convention for this. If you find one, let me know. First3.l, but this is what we're going to do for now. It's going to be second1.l, second2.l, and second3.l. This is going to be third1.l, third2.l, and third3.l. This is going to be fourth1.l, fourth2.l, and fourth3.l. Okay, so I think we named them all. Hope so. And then we're gonna press Alt-H to bring that bone back. We're gonna press Shift-S to get our cursor back in that center, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna mirror these bones over so we don't have to repeat what we just did. So we're gonna press B and we're gonna select them all. We're gonna press Shift-D and click. I used to use a method called flip names that would take these bones and switch to R, but the new Blender 2.79 has a feature called Symmetrize, which is what we're going to use. So once you've pressed Shift-S and gotten your cursor to center, you press period to move the 3D cursor to that spot. You're going to select just these ones on the right, excuse me, the left. You're going to press W and Symmetrize. And when you look at your bone names, they should say .R. Alright, so at this point, you have a very functional basic human rig. And you'll want to go in and check to make sure things are placed correctly. And you could just auto weight paint at this point and it would be good. I'm going to add an inverse kinematic though to make this a little bit easier. And so I'm going to show how to do that really quickly. Alright, to create the IK handle, you're going to select these two ball joints, extrude on the Y, select both of them, and Alt-P clear parent. And then you're going to want to go into pose mode, select the IK handle, shift select the shin bone, shift IK, add to active bone, and then you'll see it goes really haywire, so you're going to want to select this yellow bone now and go into bone constraints, which is the bone with the chain. Change the chain length to 2. When you do that, it should act like a functional leg. You're going to want to do the same thing in pose mode. You're going to shift select this handle, then this shin bone, add IK, and a chain length of 2. And then you're almost ready. There's a couple more things I want to still do. I want to make it so that when my model does this, her legs don't go through the floor, or her feet rather. So I'm going to reset that by pressing Alt-G. I'm going to select, in edit mode, I'm going to select the foot bone, shift select the IK bone, Control-P, keep offset for both of them. And when I go into pose mode, I now can control the foot bone with the IK handle, and it works out. Okay, there's one last thing I want to do, which is to add a pull target, which basically means I can aim the knees in a specific direction. So I'm going to select both of the knee joints, extrude on the Y. I'm going to select both of these bones, Alt-P and clear the parent. And I'm also Alt-P going to disconnect the bone and drag it forward. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into pose mode, select, actually no, I'm going to name these first. I'm going to select my pull target, name this pull.L, and then pull.R. Then I'm going to select my IK bone. Where it says pull target, I'm going to choose armature, choose pole.L, and then you'll see that it gets a little bit weird. So you're going to have to make the pole angle rotate until it's facing forward. So it looks to be about -90. We're going to do the same thing to the other one, armature. Pole.R. And then we're going to, again, check to see where this is. It looks like it's at about -90 again. And now we can use this to control the direction of the knee, which is actually really useful. So now you can move the knees separately. Cool. All right, so this model is completely ready for rigging and weight painting, and I'll see you guys in the next video to do that. Thanks.